This is Chuck Kowalski with Commodities Street Journal. Hi, this is Chuck Kowalski with Commodities Street Journal. Today is Monday afternoon, January 28th. Markets are closed for the day. Got a lot to cover. I want to run through basically all the markets and touch on the highlights from each sector. Today the grain markets were moderately higher. Some of that were still some residual effect from some weather issues, although a lot of those cleared up. But really the main focus is on the exports. They've been strong, especially for soybeans. Corn has still been weak, and wheat is kind of moderate right now. But there's still some dry conditions for wheat across much of the plain states, which is going to be an issue coming into probably the next few months. We'll have to worry about that, but soil is still dry, so that's a concern. Then we have to worry about exports coming online from South America, which is going to put pressure on our export markets. Probably over the next couple months we'll start to see those effects. I think Brazil is about 7% harvested on soybeans, so that supply is going to start to come online, and there's a little worry in the soybean markets. So there might be a tendency to sell the rallies right now as long as the production continues to look good and the crops get harvested pretty well in South America. There's going to be some pressure on the soybean and probably even corn markets in the near future. So don't know how long the rallies are going to be sustained. If we look over to the energy markets, crude oil has been stuck holding right around the $96 level for the last 3 sessions or so. Trading has been pretty light, just bouncing around 96, hasn't been able to move out of that range. Tried to start to move higher today, but there's really no interest in pushing the market out of that range right now. So technically we're kind of coiling a little bit, and we might get a big breakout if we get some news in the market. The natural gas market got hit really hard today, and the weather is really the main issue right now. There's plenty of supplies out there. We're not eating through them enough, and with the weather, the 6 to 10 day forecast is calling for warmer temperatures, so we're not going to get that cold blast that's for a prolonged period of time, so it's not going to eat through enough supplies, and traders were selling off the market because of the supply situation. Looking at the softs markets, sugar, it looks like we're starting to get a turnaround in there. We've talked about this a few times in the last couple months. The fundamental picture is not very bullish right now. Actually, it's slightly bearish, but the price has come down so much. We've dropped about 50% off of the highs in the last 2 years. But Brazil is really the main story right now. They're the big sugar producer, but they're also a big sugar user because they convert a lot of their sugar over to ethanol. And Brazil, we talked about this, where they've cut back. They're starting to increase their ethanol usage in gasoline. That's going to help out demand. So a lot of that sugar is going to be diverted to ethanol, which is going to help out in the production of sugar, eating through some of those supplies. So we might have hit a bottom here. It looks like it wants to start to turn around, and there's a huge record short position from the funds in sugar right now. So that could add a lot of fuel to the fire if it starts to turn and move higher from here. Cotton market, we saw the market sell off sharply on Friday. Got above 80 and really accelerated above there. I think there's a lot of short covering, and we came back in Friday, and today we're kind of bouncing around in the range a little bit, but holding above 80 is going to be tight, very difficult for this market. We're expected to have less crops planted this year because the economics really aren't good for cotton, but there's a huge global supply of cotton, and that's going to weigh on prices over the next year, possibly in the next 2 years. So might not get much of an extended rally off of those. Looking at the livestock markets, cattle, we had the cattle on feed report on Friday. It was very bullish for the market. Cattle was up over 200 points today. We're going to have lower numbers this year. We know that, but we had a big drop in the price over the last month or so. So right now the prices are somewhat attractive. The weights are actually higher, but we have less cattle out there. So it's kind of a trade-off, but the numbers are expected to shrink, and demand has been very good. Our exports have been very solid. So it looks like there might be more upside over the next year in the cattle market. So probably the May to June timeframe is looking very positive for cattle, and with the sell-off that we had recently, the traders are looking at it very attractive. So that kind of rounds out most of the markets I want to talk about for today, closing on Monday. We'll see what the rest of the week presents to us, and we'll have another update tomorrow. This is Chuck Kowalski with Commodity Street Journal.